I am Nia Calder, and I am 35 years old. Until one rainy afternoon, I was the principal systems engineer at a private infrastructure firm in the city of Brookhaven. I designed the intelligence that kept the city moving, quietly, invisibly, without applause. I never thought I would be escorted out of the place I built like a criminal. But rain has a way of revealing truth. It stung my face as security walked me across the company courtyard, one guard gripping each elbow, like I'd been caught stealing instead of creating the system that made them millions. Before this story continues, please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. Stories like this reach people who've been overlooked, erased, or pushed aside, and maybe you'll see yourself somewhere in mine. Through the tall glass walls of the outdoor reception area, I saw them celebrating. White tents flapped gently in the rain. Crystal glasses were raised. Laughter floated easily above the music. Balloons bounced against polished tables. And at the center of it all stood Celine Wright, the company's newest hire, fresh degree, perfect posture, safe smile. Beside her stood my manager of 5 years, Gregory Hale. He lifted his glass and mouthed words I'll never forget. She'll clean up her mistakes. My mistakes. The adaptive transit architecture that had kept Brookhaven breathing during rush hours. The system that shaved minutes off emergency response times. The system I built on sleepless nights and missed holidays. Half an hour earlier, Gregory had slid a cardboard box across his glass desk. My name was misspelled on the label. We're shifting direction, Nia, he said calmly. The board wants something more traditional. Something predictable. No warning. No transition. No respect. Just out. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I packed my things quietly, my notebooks, my pens, my worn hoodie, and walked through that courtyard while applause rose behind me. Reuben, the security guard who used to greet me every morning, wouldn't meet my eyes. Sorry, Ms. Calder, he whispered. Protocol. I sat in my old hatchback for a long moment, watching them toast Celine as the rain softened. They'd been preparing her for months. The polished one. The agreeable one. The one who always asked, have you considered a standard framework? Whenever my ideas didn't fit her textbooks. I am a black systems engineer. I wear sneakers instead of heels. I let my curls exist as they are. I see patterns before charts do. I don't just code infrastructure, I code behavior. Church exits. School pickups. Market days. Weather shifts. I built the system around people, not just roads. 6 months earlier, Mayor Lenora Vance had stood beneath a demo tent watching my simulations reroute traffic during an emergency drill. This could save lives, she said, eyes bright. I never knew how to explain that it wasn't magic. It was listening. When I finally drove home, my apartment felt hollow. 1 bedroom. Bare walls. Stacks of notebooks and half-read manuals. I had given everything to that job. To a city that didn't know my name, but depended on my work every single day. And suddenly, I was nothing to them. Gregory had said Celine was hired to lighten my workload. What he really meant was, we want your mind, not your presence. For 2 days, my phone stayed silent. No apologies. No outrage. No quiet acknowledgement of how wrong it was. Just the city humming outside my window and the realization that my loyalty had been one-sided. On the 3rd morning, sunlight filled my kitchen. My phone buzzed. Celine Wright. I let it ring. She called again. And again. By noon, I had 8 missed calls. By evening, 12. No messages. Just panic in digital form. I set my phone to silent and looked down at the avenue below. Traffic moved stiffly, like it was holding its breath. They fired the architect. Now the structure was cracking. The next morning, my phone rang again, but this time, it was a name that mattered. Lena Brooks. She was the junior engineer they'd assigned to me during the restructuring. Quiet. Brilliant. Curious. While others wanted outcomes, Lena wanted understanding. Nia, she said, voice shaking. It's bad. How bad? Fire engines are stuck in traffic. The West Corridor froze yesterday. This morning, the North Loop locked completely. Emergency lanes aren't clearing. My chest tightened. What happened to the adaptive layer? There was silence. Then, they removed most of it. Celine said it was too unpredictable. She replaced it with standardized algorithms. I closed my eyes. They're blaming you, Lena added softly. They're saying your design was flawed. Outside, horns blared in uneven waves. Crosswalks lagged. The city felt confused. That's not on me, I said. They stripped out the logic. They wanted the system without the soul. People were late for work. Kids missed school. A paramedic crew had to call in air support because an ambulance couldn't move through traffic. And that's when it hit me. This had never been about ego. It had always been about people. I can't go back there, I said. Not under Gregory. Not after what they did. I'm not asking you to save them, Lena replied. I'm asking you to save the city. We hung up, but her words stayed. By noon, I was downtown, watching the damage firsthand. Intersections stalled. Pedestrians stranded. News vans clustered near City Hall. An ambulance crept forward, sirens screaming without relief. I had a choice, to sit back and let pride masquerade as justice, or to stand by what I believed. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Can we talk? Not for them. For Brookhaven. Mayor Vance. I stared at the message, then typed back one word. Where? I met Mayor Lenora Vance at an outdoor cafe on 9th and Alder, a neutral place flooded with daylight and noise from the struggling streets. She sat alone beneath a canvas umbrella, cream blazer crisp, hands wrapped around a glass of water as she watched traffic crawl past like something wounded. When she stood to greet me, there were no cameras, no aides, no politics on display. Just exhaustion and urgency. Thank you for coming, Nia, she said. I haven't agreed to anything, I replied, taking my seat. I know, she said calmly. But you showed up. We didn't bother with menus. Brookhaven was choking, she explained. Parents furious. Hospitals calling nonstop. Businesses losing hours. And beneath all of it was the quiet truth she didn't need to say aloud. The city had trusted the wrong people with something fragile. I told her what I'd already seen. Emergency corridors were broken. Standardized logic was fighting adaptive behavior. The system no longer understood how humans actually moved. I remember your pilot, she said softly. It felt alive. She slid a folder across the table. Legal language. Emergency clauses. A narrow opening. Gridline dynamics is in breach, she said. That gives us grounds to contract you directly as an independent municipal consultant. You answer to the city, not to them. I skimmed the pages. Authority. Budget. Oversight. Real power. If I do this, I said, my name is public. I choose my team. And we don't pretend this collapse was an accident. I don't protect arrogance, she said. We stabilize first. Then we tell the truth. My phone buzzed. Celine again. I declined the call. The mayor noticed but said nothing. That night, I spread my notebooks across my kitchen table. Scribbled observations. Behavioral maps. Margins full of questions no algorithm could ask. This was who I was beneath the humiliation. When my phone rang again, I answered. We need to talk, Celine said, her voice strained. We are talking, I replied. There are behaviors in your system that don't match the documentation, she said. Overrides I can't trace. It's like you designed it so no one else could manage it. I laughed quietly. Or I designed it for reality. She went silent. Finally, she said, I need your help. I'll meet you, I said. Public place. No lawyers. Jefferson Library. 10 a.m. She agreed. The library was flooded with sunlight the next morning. Celine sat stiffly in the glass study room, pen tapping against a blank notebook. She looked smaller there. Less polished. The system collapses when my algorithms override yours, she admitted. They look perfect in simulations. Then real traffic hits and everything fights. Because you treated Brookhaven like a grid, I said. I treated it like a living thing. I slid my notebook toward her. Church release patterns. Rain behavior. Market days. School zones behaving like organs, not intersections. Her eyes widened as she read. This isn't just engineering, she whispered. It's listening, I said. You removed the humanity and kept the skeleton. I broke it, she said. And people are paying. How do I fix it? She asked. You tell the board the truth, I said. On record. In daylight. They'll destroy me. Then you'll finally understand what accountability costs. She nodded slowly. I'll do it. When the mayor called later, I told her I'd sign after the board meeting. I need to see something first, I said. The next morning, Gridline Dynamics headquarters gleamed under a brutal sun. I waited in the hallway outside the boardroom, watching through the glass. Gregory Hale spoke first, spinning charts, reframing chaos. 10 minutes in, Celine stood. She told the truth. The room shifted. A board member removed his glasses. Another stopped taking notes. When the door opened and security called my name, I stepped inside without hesitation. You fired the architect, I said evenly. then blamed the building for leaning. Gregory protested. The mayor entered behind me, contract in hand. You licensed her work, she said calmly. Not her mind. It was over before they realized it. 2 days later, traffic began to breathe again. I signed the contract that afternoon in Mayor Vance's office, sunlight spilling across the polished table like a quiet witness. The city seal sat heavy on the paper, but my hand was steady as I wrote my name. This time, it wasn't permission I was asking for. It was partnership. Outside, Brookhaven moved with tentative relief, intersections loosening, signals relearning rhythm. I wasn't returning as an employee or a favor. I was stepping forward as the architect, accountable to the people who depended on the work, not executives chasing comfort. Finally, my values stood visible, protected, and impossible to erase. I built my team fast and deliberately, pulling in people who understood curiosity as strength. Lena was first, her quiet brilliance finally given room to breathe. Others followed, engineers overlooked for being unconventional, analysts dismissed for asking human questions. Our operations room filled with whiteboards, sunlight, and arguments that sharpened ideas instead of crushing them. We watched the city respond in real time, zones adapting instead of freezing, buses rerouting with grace. Every adjustment confirmed what I'd always known. Systems thrive when they respect the people inside them without fear, rigidity, ego, shortcuts, silence, or exclusion ever again at scale. City Hall buzzed differently once stability returned. Not celebratory, but focused, purposeful. Data streams smoothed. Emergency response times dropped. Complaints faded into cautious praise. Mayor Vance kept her promise and told the truth publicly. She named mismanagement. She named arrogance. And she named me as the architect who restored order without erasing accountability. Cameras flashed, but I stayed grounded. Recognition felt lighter when it wasn't begged for. I hadn't saved the city alone, but I'd proven something powerful. That integrity scales when leadership finally gets out of the way consistently across communities, institutions, neighborhoods, cultures, and future generations, together forward responsibly. Gregory Hale's downfall was quieter than people expected. No scandal headlines, just contracts dissolving and clients walking away. Gridline dynamics shrank quickly once cities learned the truth. I didn't celebrate it. I understood collapse too well. When I passed their headquarters weeks later, boxes stacked behind the glass, I felt no triumph. Just clarity. Power borrowed without respect always expires. What endures is the work that holds when its creator is absent. Mine held because it was built with intention, humility, and a refusal to ignore the lived reality of others across time: pressure, scrutiny, conflict, change, disruption, uncertainty, growth. Celine resigned 3 months later. She sent a short email acknowledging her failures and thanking me for forcing honesty. I replied with one sentence: accountability is growth if you survive it. I hoped she would. Lena flourished, leading adaptive research that other cities began requesting. Watching her confidence bloom reminded me why representation matters beyond symbolism. When young Black engineers saw her name on reports, they leaned closer. Possibility widened. That mattered more than revenge. It meant the next architect might not need to be erased before being believed, seen, supported, funded, protected, trusted, empowered, valued, respected, encouraged, sustained, thriving. The work never slowed. Brookhaven became a living classroom, its streets teaching us daily. Festivals, protests, storms, joy, grief, all translated into movement patterns. We listened. We adjusted. Cities across the region called. Then states. I declined some, accepted others, careful not to repeat old mistakes. Scale without soul was the trap. I insisted on local teams, cultural. Mapping, community input. Infrastructure should feel like belonging, not control. Each contract reflected that belief, embedding empathy into code so deeply it could not be stripped away again by politics, arrogance, shortcuts, fear, ignorance, greed, convenience, bias, haste, tradition, dominance, neglect, power, misuse. Sometimes, late in the operations room, I watched the feeds alone. Headlights tracing paths. Pedestrians flowing like schools of fish. Order emerging from respect, not force. I thought about the rainy courtyard, the cardboard box, the laughter behind glass. That version of me felt distant now, not erased but integrated. Pain had sharpened my boundaries. Silence had taught me leverage. I no longer waited for permission to exist fully in my expertise. I claimed space openly, without apology, and the system responded the same way: confidently, resiliently, intelligently, ethically, creatively, sustainably, visibly, unapologetically, proudly, boldly, continuously, publicly, freely, deliberately forward. Brookhaven's recovery became a case study taught in planning schools. Not because it was perfect, but because it honored complexity. Students learned that efficiency without humanity breaks. That diversity of thought prevents collapse. I guest lectured once, standing before a room of curious faces. I told them systems fail when ego outruns listening. I told them brilliance isn't loud or polished by default. It often wears hoodies, asks uncomfortable questions, and notices what everyone else dismisses. Several students stayed after, eyes bright, asking how to trust themselves fully, bravely, early, consistently, ethically, responsibly, creatively, sustainably, openly, patiently, wisely, confidently forward. My name returned to the city in quiet ways first. On reports. On plaques. In grant proposals. Then louder. Articles. Interviews. Invitations. I accepted some, declined others, always choosing alignment over visibility. Fame fades. Impact compounds. The city didn't need a hero narrative, it needed continuity. Every time traffic flowed smoothly during chaos, that was enough. Every time an ambulance moved freely, that was enough. I slept better knowing the work stood independent of me, resilient by design, humane by choice, grounded, ethical, scalable, adaptive, inclusive, community-centered, transparent, accountable, trusted, proven, durable, flexible, evolving, respectful, responsive, protective, intentional, balanced, lasting. Years from now, someone else will improve what I built. They should. Systems must evolve or die. I hope when that moment comes, leadership listens instead of fears. I hope the next architect is protected before being tested by fire. If my story does anything, let it be this: brilliance doesn't need permission, and dignity is not negotiable. The city taught me that value isn't taken, it's claimed, defended, and shared. I carry that lesson forward, wherever the work leads next, with courage, clarity, humility, patience, strength, wisdom, purpose, integrity, resilience, vision, care, commitment, responsibility, empathy, resolve, honesty, accountability, hope, intention. Today, I stand in daylight, fully seen, fully credited, doing work once dismissed as too messy to trust. If this story resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. Share it with someone who's been silenced or underestimated. Your support keeps stories like this visible. I was never invisible. I was indispensable. And when they tried to erase me, I rewrote the system with my name on it, for the city, for the people, and for every mind told to shrink quietly, boldly, unapologetically, permanently, publicly, intentionally, truthfully, powerfully, forward, together, always rising.